funny how these progressives like to call everyone they disagree with a Nazi. But when confronted with actual Nazi behaviour, there's nothing to see here. Welcome to the selective morality of the woke left. Why has everything got to be tribal these days? Why is everything left versus right? Whether it's climate change, lockdowns, vaccines, veganism, or even your preference or otherwise for Meghan Markle. And now we're seeing it with what's happening in the Middle East. How can you take sides when innocent people are dying? Well, that's exactly what we've seen since the horrific terror attack on Israel last Saturday. Within hours, people were in this country on the streets waving the Palestinian flag. Support for Palestine is perfectly understandable in normal times. But in the aftermath of rape, child murder, the burning of bodies, the parading of corpses on the back of pickup trucks, and following the annihilation of 260 people at a peace music festival, this flag waving was deeply offensive to Jewish people and crushingly insensitive to the plight of innocent Israelis. It can only have been perceived as support for Hamas, who, unlike some of my colleagues in the media, I'm more than comfortable calling terrorists. Those waving flags was akin to marching on the streets and cheering on Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda after 9/11. And tacit support for the evil actions of Hamas now seems to be predicated on your political leanings, particularly if you're on the left. Don't take my word for it. Here is ex-Labour MP Laura Pidcock tweeting the following. She said, "I hope every single MP who consider themselves left-wing is out on the streets today in support of the Palestinians in their gravest hour. We can do without them hiding behind the fear of Keir Starmer's reprisals. Some things are more important. Take a stand," she says. Does being left-wing now mean that you accept the decapitation of babies, the burning alive of innocent people, or the taking of a Holocaust survivor as a hostage? Is that taking one for the team? It's funny how these progressives like to call everyone they disagree with a Nazi. But when confronted with actual Nazi behaviour, there's nothing to see here. Saint Gary Lineker referenced 1930s Germany in relation to Suella Braverman's Rwanda plan, but has written not a word about these atrocities. And it's been a week now. Welcome to the selective morality of the woke left. He did retweet a mealy-mouthed statement from the Premier League, which failed to single out Hamas or directly reference innocent Israelis. Now, let me help people on both sides. Two things can be true at the same time: that Palestine should be a safe and peaceful place for everyone. And we can also say that Israel has suffered a horrific terror attack and has a right to defend itself. But sadly, in our bifurcated world where division sells, you're either one or the other. To gloss over the genocide which we saw last weekend, which has direct echoes of Adolf Hitler, and to chant about Palestine at this point in time, and the inevitable message of support it sends to those Hamas monsters, shows you the moral depravity of the Be Kind crowd. Like this woman, draped in the Palestinian flag, taunting Jews about concentration camps.
Free Palestine! Don't forget what it meant in 1940!
Now, that was up in Glasgow. If you didn't catch what she said, don't forget where you were in 1940, ha. What about the lovely crowd outside the Sydney Opera House earlier this week, chanting, "Gas the Jews"? In Berlin, the Mail newspaper report that the homes of Jewish people are being sprayed with the Star of David to highlight where they live. Does that sound familiar to you? The same is happening to Jewish businesses. It's absolutely horrific, of course. What I need to ask you, when is someone going to call out the fact that history is literally repeating itself, and that it's not just being tolerated, but effectively supported by politically correct progressives? But such is the tribal echo chamber of the Church of Woke that even acts of evil against women and children and the elderly engenders zero sympathy. And what about those deluded LGBTQ+ numpties out marching on behalf of Palestine? Queers for Palestine, they cry. Well, gay, trans and non-binary people would be eliminated by Hamas faster than you can say vegan sausage roll. Why is Israel the only country in the world that gets attacked for being attacked? There's an old saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Well, it's worse now. The self-styled good people are not just doing nothing, they're cheering it on. Welcome to hell.